The Galactic Military Academy's Training Hall 7 fell silent as Instructor Vexthor entered. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the artificial light, casting prismatic reflections across the assembled cadets. 200 species represented, each the finest warrior their world could offer. And one human. Sergeant Maria Santos stood among the Dracovian shock troops, her frame laughably small compared to their 3-meter heights. She'd heard the whispers during orientation. Humans were fragile, weak gravity worlders. Their homeworld was a death trap that should have killed them in their evolutionary cradle. Yet somehow they'd survived and crawled into the stars. Today, Vexthor announced, his translator rendering his crystalline chimes into common galactic, we address close-quarters combat. The space where shields fail, where weapons jam, where survival depends on the warrior, not their tools. Gestured with 3 of his 6 arms toward the combat circle. I require a volunteer for demonstration purposes. Silence. No one wanted to be humiliated on their first week. The human will suffice, Vexthor decided, his optical clusters focusing on Maria. A ripple of amusement passed through the hall. The Dracovians chuffed, their equivalent of laughter. Even the usually stoic Zentari shifted their carapaces in what might have been anticipation of entertainment. Maria stepped forward, her face carefully neutral. She'd expected this. Humans always had to prove themselves. Instructor, I should mention, she began. Your protest is noted and dismissed, Cadet Santos. Enter the circle. Maria complied, rolling her shoulders as she walked. The combat circle was standard, 10 meters in diameter, surrounded by a kinetic barrier to protect spectators from stray strikes. Vexthor followed, his movement fluid despite his bulk. The scenario, Vexthor announced, is simple. You are unarmed. Your opponent, myself, will attempt to subdue you. Your goal is to avoid capture for 30 seconds. Begin when the tone sounds. 30 seconds. Maria almost smiled. The instructor thought this would be quick. The tone sounded. Vexthor moved with surprising speed, 2 arms extending to grapple. Maria wasn't there. She'd dropped low, rolling beneath his reach, coming up behind him. Her hand slapped his back plating, a touch that would have been a knife strike in real combat. Point, she said quietly. The hall stirred. Vexthor rotated his upper body 180 degrees, a maneuver impossible for most species. All 6 arms reached for her in a coordinated web of grabs. Maria didn't retreat. She stepped into his guard, using his own arm as a ladder, her momentum carrying her up and over his shoulder. She twisted mid-air, her legs wrapping around his neck joint, and dropped her weight suddenly. Vexthor staggered. The cadets gasped. The instructor recovered quickly, reaching back to dislodge her, but Maria had already released, landing in a crouch 3 meters away. 15 seconds had passed. Interesting, Vexthor admitted. Your species has flexibility we did not anticipate, but flexibility alone. He charged, a battering ram of crystalline muscle and advanced combat training. Maria stood her ground until the last possible instant, then pivoted. She used his momentum against him, a hip throw that should have been impossible given their size difference. But Maria had positioned herself perfectly, leveraging her entire body against his center of gravity. Vexthor hit the ground. The kinetic barrier flickered from the impact. The hall erupted in shocked chatter. A human, a creature that barely reached most species' chest plates, had just thrown a combat instructor. Maria didn't gloat. She was already moving, knowing Vexthor would recover in seconds. The timer read 23 seconds. The instructor rose, his optical clusters blazing with what might have been respect. Or anger. Explain, he demanded. Your species lacks our strength, our natural armor, our reach. How? Adaptability, sir, Maria replied, staying mobile, keeping distance. Humans don't have claws or fangs or exoskeletons. We have something better. We have 10,000 years of learning to kill everything on our planet and each other. The timer hit 30 seconds. The tone sounded. Maria stopped, came to attention. Demonstration complete, sir. Vexthor studied her for a long moment. That was adequate defense, Cadet Santos. Now demonstrate offense. Maria blinked. Sir? I have fought warriors from 200 worlds. I am curious. Show these cadets what a human does when survival requires violence, not evasion. Instructor, I don't think... That is an order, Cadet. Maria's expression shifted. Something cold entered her eyes. Yes, sir. Rules of engagement? Subdue me. Use whatever methods your training permits short of lethal force. The hall had gone absolutely silent now. Every cadet leaned forward. The tone sounded. Maria didn't wait this time. She exploded forward with startling acceleration, her movements no longer defensive and fluid but sharp and brutal. She feinted high, struck low, her fist hammering into the joint of Vexthor's forward leg with surgical precision. The instructor buckled. Maria was already transitioning, flowing around him like water, striking pressure points, joint clusters, sensory organs. Each hit was calculated, efficient, devastating. She climbed him like a mountain, using every limb as a weapon, her elbows and knees finding gaps in his natural armor that shouldn't have existed. Vexthor tried to grab her, but she was everywhere, and nowhere a ghost of violence that wouldn't stop moving. She locked one of his arms, used it to wrench another, created a cascade of compromised positions that left him vulnerable. Then she was on his back, her arm around the flexible joint where his head connected to his torso, her legs hooked to prevent dislodging. Choke hold, sir, she said calmly. In 3 seconds you'd lose consciousness. 5 more brain damage. 20 more. You're dead. She released immediately, dropping to the ground, stepping back. Vexthor remained still for a moment, then straightened. His optical clusters swept across the stunned cadets. This, he announced, his voice resonating through the hall, is why humans are terrifying. They are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most naturally armored. They are simply the most willing to find a way to win, regardless of the odds. He turned to Maria. Where did you learn such combat techniques? Brazil, sir. Then Marine Corps martial arts. Then every style I could study for 12 years. Humans have invented hundreds of ways to fight because we've needed every single one of them. Vexthor's crystalline head nodded slowly. The rest of you will partner with Cadet Santos over the next rotation. She will teach you what she knows. Because if a predator from a death world offers to show you how to survive, you listen. Maria suppressed a smile as the Dracovians who'd laughed at her earlier now looked at her with something like respect. Or possibly fear. That worked too.